We are back today with another studio review. We've got some studio monitors. I'm really excited about this one. It's been a long time coming. If you did not know, I've had my A7X's for I think over 10 years now, and they've done me really good. I love them. I understand their frequency response, especially for the smaller rooms that I've been in. Really dope. But today we've got the Neumann KH310's, 310’s specifically. Shout out to Marshall Music for sending them through. Let's get into it. Yeah. So, what are the Neumann KH310’s? I've got some notes in front of me, so if you see me look down, it's because I'm reading. I've made my way over to the Neumann website. Let's see what they have to say about it. The KH310 is a three-way tri-amplified monitor with thermally protected Class AV amplifiers. It's mathematically modeled dispersion (MMD). Waveguide delivers sound waves into the room with superior accuracy. I mean, I feel like they're always gonna say this shit. And let's get more into some shit that actually matters. Best working environments close to professional ears. The KH310 is typically used in near-field applications such as project, music, broadcast, and post-production studios for recording, mixing, and mastering. It is also available as a digital input D version. And these are the D versions with the digital input. I still use the analog input, so can't tell you much about that. Solid bass foundation. The bass goes down to an impressive 34 hertz. We'll get into that. Ultralight fabric dome optimizes mid-range reproduction. And that's funny because I've got some things to say about that mid-range. Okay, thank you, Neumann. But now let's get into some real shit. So, who are these speakers for? Here it says pretty much everyone, and I think no one is going to tell you that their speakers are not meant for everyone. I feel like they're going to try and sell it. Here it says, such as project, music, broadcast, and post-production studios for recording, mixing, and mastering. That's what it says, but from my experience with these speakers, I would say more for the mixing masters, more for the guys in the studio that need to listen at critical they need to do critical listening and need to do it at a volume that's not going to be so fatiguing to their ears. I don't see this being too much of a producer's studio monitor. Reason being, a couple of reasons. I feel like I might be going a little bit too fast, so let's slow it down a little bit and cover some specifications that you might not know about these speakers. So, as you can see, these A7X's are ported. These Neumanns are not ported. So the internet tells me the difference between a sealed cabinet and a ported cabinet is as follows. A sealed speaker features an airtight enclosure for tight, accurate, and controlled bass, ideal for music, while ported speakers, bass reflex, use a vent to boost efficiency and output for deeper, louder bass, better suited for home theaters and heavy bass music. I can agree with that. If I was to compare my A7X's with the Neumanns, I can definitely agree with that. I feel like the A7X's, they had to exaggerate the bass because they're so small, but they work really, 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 really amazingly well for small rooms. But they're not as forgiving as the Neumanns. I think that's a spec that I just wanted to touch on. So they do come in sealed cabinets. Frequency response, approximately 34 hertz all the way up to 21 kilohertz. Max SPL at 116 decibels individual amps per driver. Let's move on. So how did I set these speakers up? I put them on stands. They've got some acoustic foam underneath them both, and I've got them at an equilateral triangle. That would be like 1.5 meters from my ears, maybe. The way I connected them to my sound card was straight from the outs into the analog inputs of the Neumanns. Very quick, straightforward. Best way to set them up, in my opinion. Let's get into the most important part, the sound. How do I feel about the sound? Well, I can only really compare them to the A7X's over the 10 years that I've been using them. Compared to the A7X's, I will say the first thing that I noticed, and as soon as I turned them on and started playing some music, is my ears did not feel as fatigued as with the A7X's. The A7X's have this like really high-end sheen, this like piercing top end, and it can really fatigue your ears faster than what the Neumanns are doing anyway. And the Neumanns feel really soft on my ears, and I think I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. For long-term use, I guess it's a good thing, but I can't really hear what's going on in the top end of the spectrum like I can with the A7X's. And I do a lot of vocal work, and I need to hear those resonances that are going to be a bother. And I just can't see in any situation where the Neumanns are going to give you as much clarity at the top end as the A7Xs would. Mid-range wise, I love the mid-range of the Neumanns. I love it. Also the width. The width of the image that I'm getting is just far, 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 far wider than what I'm getting with the A7Xs. I don't know if that's a three-way speaker thing, but the mid-range, yeah, the mid-range definitely sounds accurate. That's the best way to put it. I think with the A7Xs, they still sound a bit of hi-fi, you know? But with any speaker, you're going to have to kind of calibrate your ears to the speakers and calibrate your ears to what the speakers are doing within your specific room, you know? So that's always going to be the push-pull, the back and forth. Yeah, low end. Low end is banging. I'm not using my sub. I'm not using my sub anymore that I usually use with the A7Xs. I don't need the sub when it comes to the Neumann KH310s. I feel like the bass response is even better than with the sub. I feel like with the sub, it's more of a just in the room thing. But with these Neumanns, it's like the bass is placed in a specific area within your room. You know, with the sub, it's going to feel different depending on where you put it in the room. And I feel like that's always been a big issue. I feel it more than hear it. But with the KH310s, I'm feeling it and I'm hearing it. One thing I didn't like, these fucking dogs. One thing I didn't like when it got to a certain level, like, you know, I'm a producer, so I want to push levels. And it does kind of the opposite of what the A7Xs do. When you push the A7Xs, you get these like really annoying resonances in the high frequency area, um, in that 2K above range. And with these, when you push them, first of all, I'll get to that next. When you push them, I kind of feel this distortion between the lower mids and the low end. Like there's this weird distortion that happens. And considering the size of these speakers, that's really odd. Um, and on top of that, I feel like they're not as loud as my A7Xs. You can't push them as loud, you know? You get to a certain level and then the limiter starts kicking in. And you don't get the level that you're looking to get from speakers of this size, which for me is like really disappointing, especially when you're in studio making music, especially for us, you know, more of the bang it out, more of the producer, more of the creative, you know, less on the engineering side. You know, we just want to make good music and we want to feel and we want to hear what we're making as much as we want to enjoy, you know, the sound that we're getting from the speakers that we're using to make what we're making. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. So that was kind of weird, you know? Being bigger speakers, like, why are they doing that at the low end? I don't know. But, you know, I think that might be solved by the subwoofer that you can get from Neumann as well. And then when you shift that crossover from 80 hertz up on these guys and 80 hertz and below on that sub, I assume that it might be able to fix that problem. Um, but yeah, that was just really fucking weird. But what I really liked was the stereo imaging. Like it really changed from the A7Xs to the Neumanns, the three-way technology. Like the three-way setup definitely opens up that stereo imaging in a way that I have never heard in my studio before. And I don't see myself ever going back to the two ways, to be honest. You know, Marshall Music, please just leave them with me. What else did I like? I liked the mid-range, man. The mid-range was so soft and revealing, and I felt like I could hear back into the mix, like I could hear further into the mix than I can with the A7Xs. Like I could hear things that were like I didn't, it wasn't just a left and right, but it was a backward and forward thing. Sorry about that. It wasn't just a left and right thing, it was also like near and far thing. Like I could hear that separation between elements that were right in front of my face and elements that had been pushed back, but I could hear all of those clearly. So that was really dope. So tips. I've got a couple of tips here for you. At the end of the day, you have a room that you listen to these speakers in. And a big part of what you're hearing is going to be reliant on how treated your room is. This room is not the craziest treated room. I don't have any diffusers in here, just like normal, padding just to do some, type of legwork. Also, the windows don't really have much on them, and that's going to be a big problem when it comes to, accurate referencing. But like I said, I'm less on the engineering side and I'm more on the music creation side, so I don't really care. And also, another thing, give your ears time to calibrate themselves to your room. I've had these A7Xs for 10 plus years, and I know exactly what they're trying to tell me when they're trying to tell me the thing they're trying to tell me. But with the Neumanns, I'm not quite there yet. I still need some time to calibrate my ears to everything, and it's gonna take time. And it's not to say that you can't make do with a shitty speaker, or, a shitty speaker means you're going to come out with a shitty product. Not necessarily. Your ears might understand that shitty speaker in a way that another engineer might not understand their expensive ass system with their own ears. And therefore, you might come out with the better mixes every time. But obviously, the more that your speaker is able to reveal to you, then in theory, the better your mix should be, right? But yeah, start with your room. If you don't really like your speakers or what your speakers are doing, maybe start with your room. Upgrade your room. Upgrade, there's plenty of guys around Joburg, South Africa, that can help you out. So start with your room before you go around messing with your speakers. The hub of your system, which is pretty much your sound card. Get a good interface. Get a good interface with good converters, shit in, shit out. And these cheap sound cards that do like all in one, ADDA, preamping, all of that shit, I feel like they need to be outsourced and separated to get the best out of each stage of your chain. Get a good, I mean, shit, at the end of the day, we're talking about South Africa, right? Not many of us have that kind of money, especially to invest in studio, right? I've been doing this since I was 16, 17. I've been building this shit up since then. So I know it might look like a lot, but it's a worthwhile journey to go on. But yeah, make sure your interface is up to scratch. It doesn't make sense having speakers that are almost 100,000 on a sound running through a sound card that's like 5,000. No shade to Focusrite. I know many hits and bangers were made on that little box, but it makes no sense to me to buy something like this if you're going to be running it through something that's not going to make this shine the way it's supposed to. So maybe upgrade your sound interface and see if that helps. Another tip is, I know we want to push that level. We always want to push that level. I do too. I'm one of those guys. But try and do your best to refrain from that, because your ears do get tired, and the louder you go, the more accentuated certain frequencies are, and that in itself will start lying to you about where is sitting in the mix. So yeah, that's a couple of tips. If any of the color changed, my bad. Camera switched off. What are my final thoughts? The Neumanns are, I think, very boring. Very boring. I definitely wouldn't pay 100,000 for these. I do have a problem, as much as I can hear more of the low end and it's more controlled. They do get to a point where they sound really crunchy and distorted. I can't hear the frequencies that I need to hear with the vocal work that I need to do. I'm a vocalist primarily. I'm a producer too, but what the world hears of me is my voice, and I need that to be really accurate. I don't feel like I can get the same results on the A7Xs that I do on the A7Xs with the Neumann. So for me, it would be a hard pass. I'm definitely going to keep looking for a solution that blows me out the water, as much as the A7Xs have done for 10 plus years for me. So before I give those up, I really need something that's going to outshine them in everything they've done so far and more. So for me, it'll be a hard pass. Not to say that there's not going to be someone out there that absolutely loves them, especially with the subwoofer. I think that bottom end problem might be solvable with the subwoofer. But then how much more are you spending for that subwoofer? It's kind of ridiculous to me. So yeah, shout out to Marshall Music for letting me spend some time with these Neumanns. I'm thinking I need to continue this journey looking for the perfect three-way or maybe two-way system that's just gonna beat my A7Xs with the work that I do anyway. So yeah, I think that's my 2 cents, take it or leave it. I'm here to give honest reviews for the average guy making music, you know? So I don't want us to get too jumbled up in the jargon. I'm not a university professor by any means. I'm just a normal guy. So from one normal guy to another normal guy, I hope this helped. And we'll see you on the next time. We'll see you on the next one. We'll see you next time. We'll see you soon. I'll see you. All I know is I'll see you. Okay.
Yeah.